Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, The Agile Association Professional, How to Pivot Your Career Path When the Strategic Plan Shifts. So in today's rapidly changing association environment, organizational priorities can shift so unexpectedly, requiring professionals at every level to adapt, reposition their skills, and remain focused on creating value. So, our discussion today will explore strategies for navigating that change, maintaining career momentum, and leading with purpose when plans evolve. So, we are fortunate to be joined by two accomplished leadership and career development experts who bring decades of experience helping professionals successfully navigate that change, strengthen leadership capacity, and maximize their impact. So first, our first speaker is Mariama Boney, President and CEO of Achieve More LLC and a certified personal and executive coach. With more than 30 years of leadership experience spanning associations, nonprofits, higher education, governments, and business, Mariama helps association professionals advance their careers with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Drawing on her unique perspective as an association member, volunteer, executive, CEO, consultant, and strategic partner, she provides practical guidance that empowers leaders to navigate change, enhance their effectiveness, and maximize organizational impact. Joining Mariama today is Cicely Anderson, who is the president of Life Purpose Architects LLC and an ICF certified coach, leadership development facilitator, executive coach, and strategic communication expert. With more than 20 years of experience across corporate, nonprofit, and association sectors, Cicely helps leaders align purpose with performance, strengthen their leadership identity, and communicate with greater confidence and influence. Through her consulting, coaching, and facilitation work, she equips leaders with practical strategies that support growth, enhance executive presence, and drive meaningful organizational results. So please join me in welcoming Mariama Boney and Cicely Anderson. We are super excited to learn from their insights and experiences today. Take it away.
All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us. And what we're going to talk about today is learning in action. So we'll talk about interpret organizational change strategically, assess your career agility, identify future ready skills, position yourself as an internal expert, and leave with the 90-day action plan template. So today's pivot plan, we are going to talk about community agreements, why association pivots, and the mindset shift, building and constructing your rapid shift scan, a career agility snapshot, rapid skills gap analysis, positioning yourself as an internal expert, 90-day career pivot plan, and we're going to have a coach's corner and Q&A and open this up for discussion. So here's some community agreements. Be present and curious throughout this conversation. Ask questions throughout. This is a conversation. We're not here to talk at you, but be a strategic partner with you today. Be precise. Allow a space for all voices. Share generously. Again, come off mute. This is a conversation. Preserve a safe space. Share situations, but not specifics. Give yourself permission to reflect and grab a notebook because you'll need it for the activities, because you're going to have an opportunity to slow down and really think about a situation. And also think about a current situation that you have right now that you can apply this conversation to. So we have a poll for you. How are you feeling about organizational change today? Excited, curious, uncertain, overwhelmed? There is a poll that should pop up, or you can put it in the chat as well. So I'll give you a few minutes to think about that. All right, there's the poll. All right, thank you for your engagement. Y'all are coming in with the excited, curious, uncertain, and overwhelmed. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So it's a tie between the curious so far and the uncertain and overwhelmed. So 32% feel uncertain, 35% feel curious. So it's a mixed balance of both. This is great. Let's share the results really quick. So as you can see, 35% curious, 32% uncertain, 12% excited, 21% overwhelmed. Also, go ahead and put in the chat, what is the biggest changes your organization has experienced in the past year? All right, the biggest changes, layoffs, multiple CEOs sold. Oh, they are coming in. Updating technology, mission and vision, changes in federal funding. Okay, this all align reduction in staff. Okay, this all aligns with the conversation that we've talked about. So, in all of this change, organizational shifts create leadership opportunities. So, you've all mentioned why associations pivot. The board evolves. There's new board members, and also the big questions now is what's next in associations? What does it look like now? Executive leadership changes of what you all mentioned, strategic plan refresh, and budget shifts. Also, new member needs. AI is changing the way that we work, economic, political, and legal pressures, and demographic shifts. So, what is career agility? It is the ability to recognize change, adapt strategically, continue creating value, and intentionally position yourself for future opportunities. So, what does it look like in action? To be an agile leader, there's a set shift that is needed. So, traditional mindsets say, I'll lead better when things settle down. An agile leadership mindset, I continue learning, adapting, and creating value even during uncertainty. So, here's a few examples that we've put together. So, in a leadership situation, a new leader introduces a different vision. An agile leadership response is seek to understand the vision before deciding to respond. Priorities or resources shift unexpectedly. Clarify priorities, align stakeholders, and adapt with confidence. And the clarifying priorities, the aligning stakeholders is understanding what their priorities and needs are and communicating your value in alignment with that. You and your supervisor have different priorities. Seek alignment on shared goals, communicate with clarity and influence. And one of the big themes that are coming out of the trainings is leaders are asking for permission to lead. Your leadership is not your title, it's the action and your follow up and follow through. And you give yourself permission and the courage to lead within that, especially when you're working with those leaders that are visionary and constantly changing big ideas. When you know what's best to do, be confident and move in that and lead. AI changes how work gets done. Stay curious, build new skills, and create value. And at the end of this, I have a leadership value conversation planner that has AI prompts in it to help you with this conversation. So you'll be able to leverage AI using those prompts. So, all right, here's where the conversation begins. So think about these questions. I am resisting the change or the uncertainty. What emotions has this raised for you? What is within my control? What do I need to release? And go ahead and put that in the chat.
And also, is anyone willing to come off mute and share their answer to one of these questions? Can we get one person to come off of mute and share their answer to, for example, what emotions has this raised or what's within their control?
Great. Hi. Um, I was just a little background, but I was part of an organization that went through some significant changes. And I will say, at the beginning, it was easy to keep up that positive mentality and say, okay, this is the change. Of course, there's the emotion of frustration, but I think looking at what can I control, I can control how I respond to this and take on the new responsibilities that I need. But
Thank you.
I kind of experienced over time how difficult that became as there was just no relief um, in the vision.
Yeah, thank you for that. And, next, this hits definitely on the next topic that we wanted to talk to you about and remind you about. So thank you so much for sharing that because, through change and transition, remember that you can rise. It is possible. And just as you shared, Catherine, is you got to recognize your emotions, right? And the emotions that are associated with this particular change that is happening, right? There's change, there's transition, and what are the emotions that are resonating? So I want to encourage you all to tap in and make sure that you are familiar with the wheel of emotions so that you can acknowledge those emotions. It's not just an I'm okay or an I'm fine, right? Are you frustrated, sad, angry, um, excited, right? Those are emotions that you want to really tap into. In addition, right, you also want to make sure that you're interpreting the facts. What are the facts of the situation as you know it to be? Not what you think they are, what you actually know they are. And the S in this is an opportunity for you to strategize your next step. We're here talking about agility. And as strategic plans shift and change, you've got to think about your strategy within that. And also ensuring that you engage. And how do you allow both your curiosity and your courage to allow you to engage in a different way? So remember that you can rise, and we want to make sure that you see opportunity before the disruption happens, right? And so, how are some ways that we can do that? I want you to put yourself into this scenario, okay, called the shift. Your association announces a new strategic plan. Two major initiatives are going to be eliminated. AI becomes a top priority, and there's going to be restructuring within some of the departments. You haven't been told if your role will change, yet you've noticed fewer meetings. You've noticed some cross functional teams are also forming. Leadership is talking more about innovation, efficiency, and future skills that staff members need. So, we want you to begin to think about this concept of shift, right? And how you recognize the change. For example, what's changing? What do you see happening? What words, priorities, and messages are you hearing? How could these changes affect your role, your team, and members? What the F is, thinking about the future. What capabilities will the association likely need more of in the future? And the T is what are the talents? Like, what are the skills, the relationships, the things that are going to be needed as it relates to these experiences so that you can be strengthened? So, based on the scenario, right, moving forward, you'll see the scenario again. Based on the scenario, we want to walk through and ask you all to do this activity. All right. So remember, new strategic plan, two things are being eliminated. AI is a top priority. Things are shifting. You haven't quite been told if your role is going to change yet. Senior leadership, the CEO's talking about innovation, efficiency, future skills that are going to be needed. So let's apply this shift concept to this scenario. Okay. And we're going to ask you to complete a rapid shift scan, right? And so for this rapid shift scan, place in the chat what is shifting based on this scenario. What is shifting?
Staff roles are
Yes,
shifting.
staff row. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Also, priorities. Yes, your responsibilities. Yes, resources are being allocated differently. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, let's now apply the H. How is leadership talking about this shift or change?
Not
Not,
directly.
yes, not directly, right? Not with much detail,
Out of
passively.
10,000.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. With optimism, though, right? Yes, absolutely. What impact might this have on members, staff, and the mission? What, based on the scenario, what could be the impact? What could be the impact on members, staff, and the mission? Could be
Lower
more,
morale.
low, yes, yes. Could be some confusion, could be some staff downsizing, could be some excitement because, again, new strategic plan, the board could be on with it, right? The desire to move forward, training for new skills, absolutely. And when you think about the F related to this scenario, what does the future require? Right? What do you think the future is going to require based on this scenario? Flexibility, yes. Clarity, adapting to some new technology, yes. Openness to change, yes. And a different mindset, yep. Just like we were talking about earlier. Lots of communications, yes.
Mhm.
Love that. And then what, based on the scenario, is the T? What talent or skills are going to matter most? Tech, yes. Patience, openness, and adaptability, absolutely. And we'll go back one slide as well, because I also want to point something out. Yes, right? That last line, the CEO senior leadership talking more about innovation, efficiency, some of those future skills, right? So knowing that innovation is going to be a skill that's going to need to be cultivated, and how we become more efficient and think about how we're spending our time. And I'm also seeing agreeability, upskilling in AI. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So again, this is an opportunity for you to figure out how you can apply the shift scan, right, to any change situation that you're going through. And that's where when we think about questions that you want to be asking yourself and diving deeper into, is where is the opportunity inside the change as you are experiencing various changes and transitions? You just talked about previously in terms of growth and some downsizing and some staff layoffs, some CEO turnover. What is the opportunity inside of this change? And I know, as I have worked with executives and associations and boards and volunteers, trying to recognize both the challenges as well as the opportunities, and how do we manifest that? And also be real and transparent about it, right? And another question you can ask yourself is, if you see a shift as an opportunity versus an obstacle, what is it that you could do differently? What is it that you could activate or accelerate? So, a lot of times, after we work through the emotion of it, how can we see the obstacle as an opportunity, and then connect that to what do we want to be different? What do we want to accelerate, or what do we want to activate? Okay. And there are often really great opportunities within that. For example, I've worked with a lot of associations on their strategic plans. And I always say to the board, as well as with the CEO, the ED, is, this is an opportunity to figure out, perhaps how you all can actually activate and accelerate that learning management system, for example, that you've been talking about for the last 5 years, or that certification program that the board has been talking about, talking around, but they haven't really taken the courageous leap into. So there are opportunities that sometimes through strategic plans, when they shift, that you can actually accelerate on or activate on things that are either new or things that people have been talking about for years. So just wanted to have you think about that. And that's where it's also really important for you to ensure that you know yourself, to grow yourself, right? I think Socrates says, know thyself. And that's where we wanted to make sure that we take you through, again, we said it's going to be a hands-on session today, to take you through this agility, this career agility snapshot. So you can go to the link, the bit.ly/career agility snapshot, and walk through this with us. You can also use the QR code, which will also pull up a form, because we recognize that career agility has a lot of different components to it as well, right? And
And the link is
So
in the chat.
yes, thank you. Thank you. And the link is in the chat. So click on that and walk through this with us because we recognize that career agility has a number of things, right? It is, we're focusing on learning agility, right? So rate each statement from 1 to 10. 1, strongly disagree. 10, strongly agree. 5 or 6 is somewhere in the middle, right? But we want you to go through and rate each statement. What's your learning agility, right? For example, your willingness and ability to really learn, seek new skills, feedback, adapt. Can you seek new opportunities and adjust quickly? How well can you do that? This is again a self-reflection. Number 2, when we think about grit, right? What's your perseverance and commitment to long-term goals? How do you stay committed even when it gets difficult? Right? We're not talking about toxic or unsafe, but when it gets difficult, okay? And can you finish what you start? Number 3 is strategic awareness. Rate yourself on what's your understanding of your organization's strategic priorities, and can you anticipate where leadership is headed, right? Thinking about that forward thinking, that foresight. In addition, the business acumen. Rate yourself on how well do you understand how your work contributes to the overall, to the mission, the members, the revenue, operations? And do you understand how those decisions impact you? Number 5 is visibility and influence. Rate yourself there, okay? Um, do you know the value that you bring? Are you able to communicate your ideas with confidence? Number 6 is about relationship capital. Have you built the trust in the collaborations, right? Are people seeking you out for collaboration? Are you, do you have strong cross-functional relationships? Scale of 1 to 10 again. And then 7 and 8. 7 is about boundaries and well-being. Are you protecting your capacity so that you know when to say yes, when to say no, and when to say not yet or not now, right? And 8 is career ownership. How are you actively really investing in your own career development and pursuing opportunities? I wholeheartedly believe that we have to take agency over our own careers. Do not allow your association to direct your career path, which means that we have to invest the time in our own careers. So here's the scoring and interpretation. You can, based on the form, add up where you are, and then you can get your total score. And you can see whether you've got high career agility, whether you've got an opportunity to pivot, or somewhere in the middle. So, again, I hope that this career agility snapshot is helpful for you. And again, use this tool, share it. We will also make sure that you get a PDF version of the tool as well, so you can have an understanding of where I was able to utilize a lot of the research to come up with some of this basic information related to the tool. And in the form, it also asks you to reflect, right? After you've done the action of rating yourself, we want you to be thinking about your strengths. Who can coach you? What action can you take? Where can you have impact? And then next, we also want you to be thinking about which area, as you did this activity, which area needs your greatest attention? Drop that in the chat for us. Which area needs your greatest attention? Is it learning agility? Is it your grit? Is it establishing healthy boundaries? Is it owning your career? Drop that in the chat in terms of where do you think you need to focus on more. Yes, I'm seeing relationship capital, career ownership, visibility, and influence. Thank you. Love it, love it, love it. So hopefully this, again, very quick activity can help you be able to assess where you need to go and how you set your path, right? Making sure that you um, are thinking about one strength, one growth opportunity, and even one commitment you can make in the next 90 days. That's going to be critically important. Is anyone willing to come off of mute and share, for example, one strength that they discovered from doing this activity? One strength. Was there a certain dimension that you found was your greatest strength? Was there a certain dimension that you found could be a growth area for you?
Mhm. And once again, just raise your hand for us in the chat so I can.
Anyone willing to share their greatest strength that they discovered?
Well, I can let you know, Mariama.
Okay.
Certainly, really a really good strength, resilience.
Yes, excellent. Excellent. Thank you. And I also see some of you have talked about, areas that you want to work on, our career ownership, and then also utilizing that tool to really elevate your strengths. And that's where we also talk about this opportunity to align your growth with the association priority. That's also going to be really important. And so, how do you do that? You do that by identifying just what you just did, right? You look at your current association priorities and get clear on those. Look at your current strengths. And so I've got the one, two, three in each box to ensure that you can identify three association priorities and then three of your current strengths. In addition, what are three skill gaps or areas that you know you need to grow and enhance? And then, what are three learning opportunities that you can then identify that will help you continue to practice your strengths or help you to continue to grow your skill? And then, all I'm asking you to do is, after you do this rapid skill gap analysis, is to choose one action, one skill that you will intentionally strengthen during the next 90 days. It could also be one strength that you will continue to practice as well, because your growth areas and your strengths work in tandem. And so, as we think about the coach's corner, we as coaches will be will continue to ask you these kinds of questions, right? Which skill would make you indispensable 1 year from now? Put that in the chat. What skill would make you indispensable 1 year from now if you were to spend some time growing it a little bit more? And we also then want you to think about what is one small step you can take toward that skill. I see boundaries, communicating your value. Yes. No, yes, thinking positively about the fact that you are worthy and you are indispensable is what I'm going to put out there in terms of challenging that thought, right? Um, Maximizing the use of AI. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so we know literally um, we all could be gone tomorrow. Yet figuratively, and when you think about your value and your worth, those are the things that we as coaches really want to lean into. And that's why when we talk about contribution and curiosity creates visibility, it's critically important for you to see the contribution you make. And Cicely is going to take it from here.
And everything that you all put in the chat, communicating your value, career ownership, when
Yeah.
you position yourself as an internal expert, this is a great way to do that because what you're doing is communicating your leadership brands, which is in your value, which is your identity. It's who you are when you lead. What is the strategic value that your leadership people see and experience consistently? And your leadership value is the expression. So, how do you articulate that? The way you make decisions in conversations and the outcomes that you create. So, we're going to go through this together and think about this. So, to identify what your internal expert positioning is, you want to look at how do I communicate my impact with value? And what I would add to that is how often you communicate your impact with value. So the leaders that I've been working with in the association space, one of the myths that they believe is it's coming off as bragging. It's coming off as being obnoxious. And it's not coming off as either one of those. It is leadership clarity. It's communicating your value, and opportunities and promotions come up when you are not in the room. So think about, how am I equipping my supervisor, my team, to talk about me when I'm not at the room, and have the question, we have to have this person at the table, and here's why. And also the question about how often. Another thing that I'm finding out is that they communicate their value mid-year review, annual review, or sometimes when it's requested. But this should be something that's intentional, strategic, and communicated often. And here's a recommendation in how I work with leaders. Start by communicating it in your one-on-ones with your supervisor or team meetings, and put that on the agenda. But before you can communicate this, let's talk about, how do you assess your brand positioning? So what value, what problem does leadership need? Here's what you want to assess. What are the strategic goals? What are the priority? And what are your leaders' pain points? And then once you assess that, then you start to communicate to align. Another thing is, what is their decision-making process? How do they make decisions? What is the best way to approach and present your issues and solutions accordingly? So 3 and 4 go hand in hand. So take a moment to think about, what strengths do you people consistently rely on you for? And what unique value do you want to create? And I want you to think about this differently. When I have this conversation with leaders, they typically say, I'm trustworthy, I have follow up and follow through. Those are broad categories. I'm going to share a few unique strength prompts for you to think about. So even these examples are coupled with the scenario. Are you an innovative problem solver? You generate fresh ideas that improve systems and outcomes. Are you an operational simplifier? You streamline processes and make work easy for others. Are you an insightful translator? You make complex ideas and simple visuals relatable. And again, in the conversation planner, you can partner with AI to help you think about that. Now that you have all of that, now you want to create a conversation framework of how to communicate it in your one-on-ones. And I want you to think about it in the SARS format. This is typically used in interviews, and it stands for situation, actions, results. And you line it with the strategic priorities. But the one thing that I always add is invite the next steps in partnership. So I'm going to share an example of what it looks like in a one-on-one update. I wanted to share an update of how I strengthen new member experience this quarter. A key priority for us is improving early engagement and building a stronger sense of community across chapters. I applied an empathy-first approach. That is the unique value prop, their superpower, by interviewing new members and mapping their emotional journey. I redesigned onboarding to make it simpler and more intuitive. This improved early engagement by 22% and strengthened chapter connection. I recommend that we share this across association-wide. Let's start by sharing our plan and the results to gain buy-in. I have a plan. What are your thoughts? Now that invites the supervisor in to share and collaborate with you. So think about, put in the chat, when you hear that example of providing and communicating your value, how does that sound? Or what did it sound like? Or what was your impression of that example? All righty. Let's see. Being dispensable, being transferable, new opportunities. an aspect of leader. It shows confidence and success in a respectful way. Great approach on results. Exactly. This is something that you can begin to implement now and easy and simple. Sounded like one needed to understand the audience first. Some bosses would take that as a threat. Yes, that is the first thing. And when you are aligning with your supervisor, you're understanding their personality and their preferences, and then you communicate that in alignment with them. So in this scenario, then you would do it, you would structure it in a different way so it doesn't sound threatening. But this is still the structure and the approach to communicate your value. But that is a great point. So now let's do an activity to claim your unique value. Put in the chat, I create value by, my next contribution will be, and if someone wants to come off of mute and share this, that would be great. What's the one way you can create value, and what's the one contribution you're excited to make next? Okay, yes. I create value by, who wants to come off of mute and share how they create value and their next contribution? And you can also put it in the chat. Are any questions regarding this? How to claim your unique value? I create value by engaging others for their expertise. Okay, great. I create value by always listening to understand. Yes, that's a great superpower. I create value by simplifying the process. Great. Okay, all of those are great. So, in the coach's corner, think about visibility comes from meaningful contribution and owning your value and communicate it. And in this scenario, if your CEO or director or senior leader described your greatest contribution in one sentence, what would you hope that they would say? Go ahead and put that in the chat.
Yeah, and then there's also a comment here related to the way in which we can make sure that we are keeping track of our value is to, ensure that you have these conversations in your own files. You are updating your resume, you're updating your portfolio, all the things that you can utilize, for example, when you are looking for a new role, when you're deciding to apply for a promotion or ask for a promotion, when you are negotiating salary, when you are also thinking about applying for an award or a committee or a board or doing some type of something where you have to talk about yourself, right? Things that you can integrate into your bio as well, right? So this showing value can go well beyond what you're doing day to day, yet it can also elevate your career overall.
Yes, and also write your mid-year reviews and your annual recaps and that situation action results so it's documented as well. So that's a great way to keep it in a file and add it to your file. All right, some of the comments in the room. I'm respected by others, that I always make members and staff feel great,
Yeah.
valuable, and welcome.
Absolutely. And I think the key thing, right, when you and I the element that I really love here is when we talk about these pieces, how do we know, right? What that you are respected by others? How do we know that members make you feel heard and valued and welcome? Do you save some of their comments in their emails? Do you reflect on, for example, if you're at annual meeting or if you're at another meeting or if you're on the phone or at a committee meeting, somebody says something to you, make sure you write that down, right? Not just what they have sent via email, but also the comments and the appreciation that you get from staff, volunteers, leaders, board members. Make sure that you are taking a moment to jot that down. I use my notepad and my phone. Sometimes I'll do a voice memo. Whatever it is that you can utilize to make sure that you're keeping all of these strengths, these accolades, these opportunities for to show your value, because again, it's going to be integrated all throughout your career. And that's where we talk about some of these tangible elements related to turning insight into action. And so this is again really quick a great opportunity and good, what I call growth work, or what some people will call homework as well, for you to think about your 90-day career pivot plan. What are the things that you can start to do in terms of learning over the next 30 days? Right? Based on things that have shifted and the transition that may be happening, what are ways that you can start to learn? So for the next 30 days, I recommend focus in on your learning. What are you going to start to learn? And again, there's a form that you can utilize and send to yourself.
And the link will be
What?
in the chat. It's being added in the chat.
Oh, perfectly. Thank you. And also, then 60 days out, based on what you want to learn, what can you apply that you have also recognized that number one, you need to stop doing, and things that you need to continue doing. So this is the basic start, stop, continue. I add the third C, which is this, the fourth C, which is the celebrate, right? So what can you start doing? Focusing on that for 30 days, the stop and the continue for the 60 days. And then when you get to 90 days, right? When you get to the end of the quarter or 90 days, what have you demonstrated? And how are you celebrating yourself for that? So often we move from one point to the next. We're just moving, moving, moving. We're not taking an opportunity to recap and celebrate all of the great things that we have brought to the association space, to our associations, to members, volunteers, to our colleagues, right? To our families and communities. So that's really important to think about your impact and celebrate that.
Yes,
Because
this is
that
the
is also,
hardest part to take time to demonstrate what you've done.
yeah,
Yes, like she said, slow down and also start with one step.
yes,
May feel overwhelming and we've thrown a lot at you. Start with one step, one situation,
yeah,
implement that. And then once you feel comfortable with it, the cadence and exercising the muscle, then add something else. So you don't have to add all of these things. So
yeah.
that speaks to Catherine's point.
Absolutely. It's kind of like when you go to dinner or even when you sit down for a meal. Ideally, right? They tell us take your time with eating, right? Don't scarf down your whole meal all at the same time, right? Take your time, chew it a little bit, and then move on to the next bite. So make sure that you can take that time. I'm seeing, yes, we do this for the board. We show annually all the things that we have been accomplished, and taking time to do that for yourself is critical. And I think that's another really great piece, right? We've produced these amazing board reports. Sometimes, hopefully, there's KPIs, ideally, right? If you have a strategic plan, there should be KPIs that you're also tracking. And where do you see yourself in those KPIs? Where did you contribute to the accomplishment and or the progress of that particular KPI or action or result? That's really important. And again, it's not bragging. It is a beautiful opportunity for you to think about your value and your worth. So, are there any questions? Wanted to see what questions you have. Put your questions in the chat or raise your hand to come off of mute. What questions do you have based on what we've talked about today related to your mindset, related to how you recognize the shift, related to your visibility and your value? Excellent. Very good. And so sometimes, as a okay. As a
Something
coach and
in the
consultant,
chat
I was going
here.
to say sometimes I get certain questions, but I
Yeah,
see one
we
here.
do have a
Um,
question now.
yeah. What if the shift based on volunteer input is not good overall for the organization? Yeah, thank you. This is focused on the organization. And actually, I'm going to say, how do you focus on you? Right? So, yes, the shift might not necessarily be for the organization. My question to you would be, what is the opportunity in that? What is the opportunity in that? And what is the opportunity in that for you as well?
And I would
Because,
also
yeah,
identify within what you know is best, what's needed. It's not what you say, it's how you say things. If it's not best, you can align, oh, that's great, but here's how it aligns with the organization goals or outcomes, or ask open-ended question. How does that align with our goal and keep them grounded in the strategic priorities?
Yeah. And I think the other question here too, which is it's an amazing question because it also allows us to dig deeper. And when we talk about the shift and those particular concepts, it also allows us to make sure that we are at the stop sign, not down the street. Do we have the data, right? What data do we have in addition to the qualitative input as well as the quantitative input that this may or may not be great for the organization? Those are the kinds of questions that you can begin asking, right? Are we, because sometimes we hear a minority of voices, sometimes we hear a majority of voices. Who's collecting that data? Who's drawing the themes from that data? Who's drawing the analysis from that data? And I also want to say, be careful, don't get enticed by volunteer gossip. If it is a true um, input, right? All input is valid, yet we also want to see what is it connected to? What is it rooted in? And that continues to bolster and strengthen our questions and our curiosity because you do need to be curious and ask those curious questions and begin to track the feedback. And if you're in, I used to serve as a membership director and oversaw all of the volunteers within the 8 regions, right? And all of our components. And so recognizing that you get a lot of different feedback from volunteers. What are the themes related to that feedback? How are we breaking it down, right? And so that's really important.
And we have another question from Susan.
Also, yeah,
What
what advice?
advice oh, go ahead. Oh,
Oh,
what advice do you have for finding the bandwidth to learn new skills when you're already working overtime? This is where I would say assess your time and your time blocks, put in the boundaries that you need, and prioritize what's important to you and
yeah,
how that aligns with your goals. Because
absolutely.
if you're constantly working overtime, look at time management and what priorities is your work and your calendar aligning to the priorities that you have to get done. I had a client that I was working with that a lot of people were taking this client's time. Once we took a step back and put together their ideal schedule, what their priorities were, then they put times blocks for people to ask questions and support so it didn't absorb the time so they didn't have to work overtime. So that may
Yeah.
be an option to consider. But in a lot of these conversations, there's nuances.
Mhm.
But we would love to continue the conversation. And after we reflect, we'll share ways that you could speak with us in
Yeah.
detail to continue this conversation and be a thought partner for you or with
Yeah.
you.
Absolutely. And I would also just like to add to that question, um, one key element, certainly there's the Eisenhower method to really think about what's urgent, what's urgent, important, what's urgent, not important, all that good stuff. And I will continue to say and believe this because I have seen it manifested in my own life and in my own career, as well as the careers of others that I coach. Your association does not own your career. You do. Your association does not own your
Amen
career.
to that. We
You
ain't in
do.
church, but amen.
So one of the things that I think is really
Oh my
important
God, it's better. I used to say
is
amen.
is that you have to figure out for yourself. I don't care if it's I'm gonna take a 7 o'clock session, I'm gonna take something on the weekend, I'm gonna take something on Saturday. You have to figure out for yourself how you manifest your own path. And that is really important. And we are here to support you in that. And there are ways that you can strategize within your own time block, your own day, to be able to slide in some of that professional development like you are now. And also, sometimes you got to put the work in outside of the work hours for yourself,
Yes.
right? Recognizing that it's going to benefit you and manifest you at a greater level.
All right, we've got
So
7 minutes
sorry. I'm so sorry,
left.
y'all.
We
All
got
right.
seven
So
minutes.
with
So
that,
you want to do
yes.
the key reflection?
Yes, absolutely. All right.
So
So with that, make sure that you are thinking about this staying visible during pivots or restructuring. Do not retrench, right? Again, unless again it's a safety situation or it's a toxicity situation, and we could talk about that in a coaching situation scenario. But make sure you stay visible. It's really important. Also, building skills without burning out, figuring out that no, right? We've done a couple webinars so far on strategically saying no. Go to the ASAE YouTube channel, watch those webinars. Cicely has also done some sessions as well. How do I position myself for promotion? Right? Promote yourself if you want to be promoted. And it's not about bragging. And then also navigating uncertainty. We can certainly help you think through that. Yet I also really believe that that concept related to the shift will help you be more aware of what's coming and how to break down what is actually happening. And so the key takeaways for today is, leading yourself through change is important. Understanding before you react, right? That is also important. Those curious questions, getting that understanding. How are you investing in skills that matter for yourself, for your current and future? In addition, owning your value, know that you are worth it. And then also thinking about this shift in this mindset and adapting, making sure that you don't personalize everything, interpret the
Mhm.
change,
No,
manage your emotions. How are you then activating your own courage and then applying the confidence to elevate your value?
all right, to continue this conversation, there was such great activity in the chat. And this was just to spark thought. This takes time and support. So there's two ways that you can continue the conversation with both of us. We will be in Indie Coaching. You can add to your registration a 1 hour coaching session. The link is in the chat. And if you've already registered, log in to the attendee service and add this session, and you can meet one on one with either one of us. Also, we are both offering 30-minute complimentary coaching sessions. A lot can get done in 30 minutes, and you don't have to have everything figured out. We can brainstorm with you. So if you scan both of our QR codes, you can book the 30-minute conversation coaching. And also in my QR code, as I mentioned earlier, I put together a leadership value conversation planner that walks you through how to identify your brand, how to communicate it, who are the stakeholders, and then the AI prompts to help you achieve that. Also, screenshot this page. Our contact information is in there. Thank you for your time, your engagement. This was a great group. For those of you that will be in Indy, I can't wait. Both of us can't wait to see you. And I'm
Yeah,
expecting to see both of us to get some conversations and talk to you. So book that 30 minutes or see us in Indy.
absolutely.
Amazing.
And I always say, Cicely has her leadership value conversation planner. I always say, as you are thinking about agility and being an agile professional, when strategic plans shift, always be ready, always be learning. And we look forward to seeing you out there soon, y'all.
And remember,
Yes.
all the other links have been added into the chat.
Yes. No, sincerely, thank you all for joining us. And like a special thank you to Mariama and Cicely. for sharing their expertise, their insights and practical strategies, honestly, for navigating change and ultimately leading with purpose. So thank you to each attendee for investing in your professional growth and being part of today's conversation. We really hope that you leave with new ideas, renewed confidence. Like one of my words was resilience and actionable steps to help you navigate whether changes may come your way. So thank you so much again.
And we also just want to say thank you to the ASAE staff that does an amazing job in supporting us as members. And let's give it up for ASAE staff, Joseph, and colleagues on the call today. Thank you for all you do as well.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.